back to another exciting episode of the Myth-Busting Locksmith. Now, what you see here before you today is the setup for repinning and putting together a gatemate or a Perry, which is another brand, lock. This arrived to me in many different pieces, as you can see, although this part I have put the 3 parts together already. I've got the pins here, which I will be putting in, and there will be a photo shortly that will show how small these pins and these springs really are, because I put a grain of rice between the pin, the rice, the spring and the pin. Now, normally these have 6 pins in the top and 6 pins in the bottom of the cylinder, so these 6 would go with the springs in the top here, and then this would come along and be inserted here, and then there would be the 6 pins in this part, and this would cover over here. And of course, when you take the key and put it in, it would then turn around. And to save your time, what we will be doing is we'll be speeding up the video when we're repinning the top, because it will be spring loaded and it will be very tricky, and I don't want it to take absolutely ages. Now, the easiest thing with this, when you are pinning the top part, which needs the key, and it'll be the first thing I'm doing, is you can look at the key and the depth of the dimples cut in it, and then you can pretty much work out which pins go in which hole. So of course, flat side pointing up, and you want the rounded side pointing down, and when you put the pins into this cylinder, you want the pointed bit pointing up and the flat bit pointing down. So this is of course a test of not only my manual dexterity, but how well I can read a lock, although it might be easier to put the key in first and then do this. But we'll see how we go as a random test for me. That's nothing. I know these look like they're in order, but I don't think they are. No. Okay, maybe it would have been easier just to do it this way around in the first place. Right, let's just see how that works. Okay, that goes in. Right. This bit of wood is great. Everybody needs a piece of wood like this. I got this from scrap from somebody's fireplace, but it has turned out invaluable for so many things. And just to show that, slides in. Perfect, good. So far, so good. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to put these pins in here, sorry, these springs in here, and the holes in here. And I'm going to come up close in a second when I come off camera. And then we are going to put the pins in top, but we're going to time lapse this because it will be quite time consuming. And then I will time lapse the video. Right. So as you can see, they're tiny little holes, and I will show you a photo, as I say, of the grain of rice compared to a pin and a spring. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pause the video, we're going to time lapse it, we're going to put all of these springs and pins in here, and then we're going to go along to reassemble the rest of the lock. Delighted to say this did not take me long at all. So it took me 5 minutes. So now the next bit is getting this in, but I've realised the pins are down, so I've got to turn it the right way up so that these pins here are down here. So when this goes in, they'll match like this. Now, what I would say with this is get the little kit here and have lots of light. I've got light coming from the window on my right, which is excellent. Otherwise, you can get a little torch on a stand. I've got one of those, or you can get little pen torches. We do our own 2M security ones with a little torch on, LED, But yeah, get some sort of torch or very good lighting, because it is invaluable when you're looking down a little tiny tube to put little torpedoes on top of springs into little torpedo chutes the size of a grain of rice. So now I have done these, and we have got this absolutely lined up. This is the next painful bit. Now you got the pins in the top here, as you can see, with the keys, but what you want to do is turn it at a slight angle, so when you push the metal in, it is going to push on the pins, and they are not going to fall out of their torpedo tube hole here or here. And then you're pushing this out like that, and then you're going to go quite quickly because there's no C-clip, and then this goes in here, and then you turn it up, and hopefully, like magic. Right, the next thing we need to do is, once we've got the lock in the cylinder like this, we then need to line up these holes from this side, where there is no bolt, with these two long screws, and screw them in place. Right, so now we have put these, where are they? Two screws in the cylinder holding the lock and cylinder in place, and I would not recommend using a Leatherman tool, although I did, because they are big, they're heavy, and obviously these are uniformly round, these are flat, so they are great, but they are not suitable for this job because I did struggle with doing it. The next thing you want to do is you want to load your spring, because it covers the outside edges of the inner hole. Spring in first. Then you want to add your little metal tube within the spring. If you try and do it the other way around, you are not going to get the spring around the tube edges and over the metal thing. So it is easier to do it in this correct order. Now this part, you want to keep this effectively resting, because this is quite fiddly. Now if I put my finger on here, this little disc would otherwise fall out, but I've got it in the right place. This is going to press against the spring in here, so this will be spring loaded. We want it that way around. And these little three holes here correspond with these little three holes here. Now I do urge you to get little pens, either with a torch on the end like this, our own brand 2M Security ones, or get a little pinpoint torch. They are invaluable for something like this. I used it on the video for shining it down the holes to see where the hole was in the cylinder to line it up, so they really are very, very useful. Now once you've got this, you want to put this on here like this, but what you want to look at is the gap here and the gap here, because on here you have the same little gaps, and they need to correspond with each other, because before you put that on, you want to put this little peg. And what you've got here is, and I'll do a little photo, you've got a flat part here, cylinder part here, you've got a small circle end there and a fat circle end there. And the fat circle end, where it's completely round, so flat edge here wants to be going towards the window. The solid end wants to go in here, because the little flat part on the side will fit in like that, and the cylinder will go in, and it is now spring loaded, so that when you get this part, this has to fit over the top, so the pegs of the wheel, I can actually show you, the pegs of the wheel here go in the corresponding holes here. So it might actually be easier to pop this on, so the part sticking out goes towards the window, flush goes against the lock, but the flat sides of this need to fit in the gap here. Now this again is another very fiddly bit, but I don't want to keep time-lapsing everything for you. And you've got to make sure that when you put it on, and it is again very fiddly, these locks, you need to make sure that the last hole this side has a tooth in it. Right. I'm not sure which is the best way of doing it, putting the wheel on like this, and then putting this over the top, or do it the other way around, but I'm sure you will all find your own way. So, Once this is on as simply and easily as I did, the holes here will all line up so you can put the screws in. This part, which is now spring loaded, will be flush across here and obviously fit around the edge. This should be springy and this is not going to move. Right, so you put your key in and there we are. So as you can see, this is very fluid. Now the customer did complain that it was very jittery or rattly, and I did say to him, is this sticky? Oh, this is smooth and beautiful. But he did complain that it was not that fluid and smooth when he had it. So I'm wondering if somebody's fiddled with it, or it's just needed some service and some care like we've given it today. Because it's working a lot better now than when it was before. Right, one screw in, check it's still smooth. This, as you can see, is spring loaded. There we are. This is spring loaded. This is now locked. This part is fiddly with the pins. I mean, it's all spring loaded all the way through, and I keep saying that, but you've got to know this because it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together a million times over. Right, so all three screws are in. There we are. So if you put it with gatemate reading up, you're turning the key towards the direction the bolt will head. If it's upside down, obviously it goes in the opposite. There we are, job done. These come in 50mm and 70mm sizes. This is a gatemate. These I recommend. We've got the Perrys, pretty much exactly the same, made slightly different, but I bumped open one of these, which was a gatemate, in about 8 seconds. The Perry, you can jiggle it open with a jiggler key. So it's entirely up to you which one you use. I would go for gatemate. Perry is good. So there we are. As previously mentioned, Perry are good, gatemate are very good. We would recommend gatemate over Perry. This is nicely packaged for the customer, all put back together, nicely serviced, repinned, working beautifully. He's got a little 2M security keyring. That's his lump of wood to go on his gate. We've sealed it up as it has been inspected, and hopefully he will be happy with his service he's received. And hopefully you have enjoyed the video, and it hasn't been too long, but it's been educational. As always, leave comments and queries below. Keep the comments positive. We do delete the negative ones because everyone has a skill that they're better at than someone else, and everyone will have skills that they are not as good as someone else. I've been doing this 5 years. I've done one of these. This is the second one I did. Took me 5 minutes to pin it. Took me about 12 hours to go over and over the first time when I was learning. So, you know, every day's a learning day. People have to learn. People learn at different rates, but once you've got it, you've mastered it. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. See you next time.